Yes. The last class we have seen SQL Server Components. We have seen, okay, two types of components, workstation components and uh, server components. Right. Right. Okay. Then next one's here like basic installation we have seen, and generally we know SQL is a structured query language, which is a common database language supported by every RDBMS. Okay, right. So actually, see, like it was initially developed by IBM, but now it is a open source language. Means what? We can use this SQL in any RDBMS products. Means what? Tomorrow you are developing one RDBMS product. In that product, remember, we can use this SQL command. Okay, it means SQL language we can use directly. Why? Because it is a open source language. Right. Next is like non-procedural language. Means what? It is not a programming language, SQL. Okay, it is not a non-procedural language. Means what? It doesn't support programming features, right? Like if statement, while statement, variable declaration, just the commands are there here. Okay, then common database language supported by every RDBMS. Okay, so means what? Like yeah, that's why we have seen already every RDBMS, not only SQL Server, it may be Oracle, Sybase, DB2. Every RDBMS supports which commands? SQL commands. And say case insensitive language. Means what? Not case sensitive. We can mean SQL commands, we can type in any case, uppercase, lowercase, any case. Okay, yeah. So that is like in general, say like just what is SQL, right? In general, remember, like whenever the user submits the command, either through SSMS or through application, command is submitted to SQL Server, means SQL engine. Okay, SQL engine we have seen it has which service? SQL Server service SQL engine. Then say this SQL engine will run that command, okay, on the data present in the database. Basically, remember, like permanently data is there in the form of what? Database, right? Yes, but remember this SQL is what? Just it is a interface actually, which is processing the queries. Suppose here tomorrow unexpectedly my SQL is down. Okay, SQL Server is down unexpectedly, or we have uninstalled SQL Server, for example. Any data loss is there, or there is no data loss? Data is there in the database, right? If SQL Server is down or SQL Server is uninstalled, any data loss is there, or only downtime is there to the users if SQL is down unexpectedly? Karthik, Irfan, if SQL is down unexpectedly, any data loss is there or no data loss? Yes, only downtime is there, correct. Okay, only downtime is there means what? Like users cannot continue their transactions. Why? Because SQL is down. But data will be there as it is. So yeah, till whatever the data is there, same data is there. Okay, right, right. Okay. So that's remember like SQL Server is what just a interface actually. So which takes the queries and which is processing these queries with the data present in the database here. Okay, right, right. So then see like here see data is there in the form of a database permanently. Right. Uh, One question is it once we install other server. Okay, in different machine you are saying Irfan, other server, then how to connect with the same database. Did not understand Irfan. Once we install, oh, delete it, uninstall you are saying. Okay. Yeah, no problem. We can't connect, but we have to install SQL Server again. Okay, we need to reinstall. And after reinstalling, we'll restore all these databases or we'll attach all these databases into that server. Then users can start working with. Okay, right, right. So here see like important point is it in database remember data is there in the form of rows and columns, right? Generally, we know that in a database, data is there in the form of rows and columns. Okay, right, right. Okay, but see, like in database, we have different storage levels are there. In database, we have different storage levels. Physical level is there, logical level is there. Okay, in database, in general, remember like. Physically in a database remember physically data is stored in the form of files physically say data is there in the form of files. We'll see again here we have data files and transaction log files. We'll see. Okay, later we'll see architecture. Then logically data is there remember in the form of tables. It may be any RDBMS actually, not only SQL Server. Okay, not only SQL Server. So it may be any database. Okay, right. So that's remember like it may be any database. So in general, remember it may be any RTBMS product. So we have data is there in the form of tables logically, and it is there. Uh, uh, Physically remember data is there or permanently data is there on hard disk in the form of what files. Okay, yeah, logically data is there in the form of what tables. Physically data is there in the form of files. Okay, logically means what which is stored in the buffer cache, which is maintained in the buffer cache. Physically means which is stored in the hard disk. Okay, right, right. Uh, So that is like that's remember a database is a collection of objects. Logically, objects are nothing but tables, views, everything. Whereas a database is collection of files physically. Okay, architecture we'll discuss later. Just remember, in our SQL Server, every database has two files by default, two types of files actually. One is data file and the second one is a transaction log file. Okay, data file and log files. Right. So okay, check here after connecting to SQL Server. Already we know through SSMS here we can connect and work with SQL Server. Right. So check here. Let's say once we connect to SQL Server. Okay. So we can check this. Or previous day we have installed here. This is here one server we have installed. Right now here we don't have any databases. We can create here sample database just for testing purpose. New database. Okay. Any database name. Sales. Okay. See, database is created successfully. Now we can take a new query to work with the commands. SQLDB. SQLDB. Now here it is showing. Okay, so see here. Database has here two files here by default. Every database in SQL Server by default. One is here. This is our data file. Okay, this is a log file. Okay, log data file, meta data file or master data file. We'll see later. So that's remember by default every database has two files actually, data file and log file. Okay, yes. So just remember like in general remember data is recorded permanently in data file. Okay, but initially whenever the user makes some transaction, initially it is recorded in the log file. Okay, after some time it is written into data file permanently. Okay, final destination is data file, but initially changes are recorded in the log file and buffer cache. Log file and buffer cache. We'll see that, we'll discuss that how the transactions are working. We'll see the architecture. Okay, no need to worry. Right. Understood, right? Every database has two files by default in SQL Server: data file and transaction log file. Okay, right. Okay, how the transaction is happening here in the background, we'll see. Just basic. I'm not going to discuss in detail. Some confusion may be there. Okay, just basic transaction flow we'll discuss. See here, whenever the user runs some query, for example, one user is running this command: select star from employees where employee ID equal to 1. Okay, just for basic understanding. So immediately remember, already we know, immediately command is submitted to a SQL Server. Okay. Command is submitted to SQL Server in background. Okay. Okay. Check here what is happening. First, SQL Server will search whether this record, employee ID 1 record, is there or not in the buffer cache. So buffer cache is nothing but what? RAM. Okay. First, it is searching for the record in buffer cache or buffer. Suppose let's say no record found. For example, just now we have restarted SQL Server. Nothing is there in buffer. Okay, buffer is empty, for example. Not exactly empty, we'll see later. Some metadata is loaded actually, we'll see later. So, for example, this record is not there in buffer cache. Then what SQL Server will do? So it will go to data file. Just now we have seen, right? Every database has two types of files: transaction log file and data file. Okay, so it is searching for the records here now in data file. Data file it is searching. Okay, in data file, remember the record found with employee ID 1. With employee ID 1 record is there in data file. What SQL Server will do, it will copy that record into buffer cache, buffer. Okay, generally we'll see later. Here in data file, remember we have pages are there. Page is nothing but 8 KB memory area. If somebody is working with Oracle, we have blocks are there in Oracle. Here we have pages. Okay, so what it will do, it will read the record. Here also it will store that record in a page, 8 KB memory area. See, first time it is reading from data file into a data cache. After reading from data file into data cache, then this record is submitted back to the user. Clear, right? Command is submitted to SQL Server. SQL Server is searching for the record in buffer cache. No record found. Go to data file. Bring the record into buffer. Okay. Then display. Suppose next time if same query is submitted. Okay. Next time. Directly remember already record is there, right, in buffer cache. Directly locate the record in buffer display. Means what? No need to go to data file every time. Okay. It's clear. This one I will show you practically also in second module. Now I'm not going in detail. Confusion may be there. Okay. It is clear for all people. Any confusion is there? Manoj, Manikanta, Irfan, it is clear. Still, select command will not use log file, but insert, update, delete means what? Except select command, all the other commands uses log file. We'll see next. After this select, next I will show you update, how update will work. Clear for all people? Mithila, Srikant, Sridhar. This is important for us, how the transaction is working. Okay. Same thing I will show you practically also. No need to worry. Okay. Right. Okay. Correct. Correct. Yes. Yes, Sridhar. Yes. Abdul, can you type your phone number? I think our front office people don't have your number. Abdul. Why? Because from tomorrow onwards, you will get the new link actually. Means who has registered, they will attend. Okay, that's why. Okay, Abdul, are you there? Irfan, then you can't connect actually like that. Irfan, maybe from tomorrow. Okay, we'll have, yeah, only one connection. Okay, then Manoj, yeah, if there is no data in data file, just it will say that record not found, right, Manoj? Yes. Okay. Suppose let's say one user is running update command. For example, here user is running update command, update emp, set salary is equal to where employee id equal to 10, 10, for example. Update command, same here, command is submitted to SQL Server. Okay, then what SQL Server will do? SQL Server, okay, check here, command is submitted to SQL Server. Same, SQL Server will search for the record in buffer cache. If no record found, it will go to data file. Okay, same, it will search in the data file. From data file, remember, it will bring the record into a buffer cache. See, see, after copying the record into buffer, then this salary is updated, means record is modified. Okay, same modifications. Okay, same modifications are written into transaction log file also. Then user will get the acknowledgement. See here. The symbol select star from will never use space in log file. Only it will take the data into buffer display. But remember, except select star from. Okay, it may be insert or update or delete or anything. Okay, all these uses space in what? Log file. Okay, copy the record into buffer, modify here. Same modifications are written into log file, then user will get the acknowledgement. Clear, right? Why? Because tomorrow unexpectedly if the server is restarted, this buffer cache is erased. Okay, buffer cache is erased, but data is there in the log file. Whenever server is restarted unexpectedly, this buffer is erased, right? So what SQL will do, it will go to log file. So it will copy the pending changes which are not written into data file into buffer. It will copy into buffer, then it will write into data file. Always remember, writing into data file is done from buffer only, not directly from log file to data file. Okay, always changes are written from buffer into data file. So here we have one background process is there, checkpoint. That checkpoint, what it will do, it will write these changes back to data file periodically. Okay, checkpoint process will write the changes into data file periodically. Clear, right? Yeah, this is how the update command is working. How the update command is working in the background. Right. This is a very high level overview. Okay, what is happening in the background. So okay, but we'll see this after installation practically. Okay, no need to worry. Any confusion is there for any people? Parvez, Mithila, this clear? Manoj, Manikanta, how the transaction flow is happening. How rollback happen, that we'll discuss, Karthik. Now just we'll have confusion. Yeah. Yes, yes, we can roll back as per ways. Okay, old value can be rolled back. Actually, it will maintain here two copies, old and new copy. Old image and new image, it can be rolled back. From buffer file, files will transfer. Yeah, from buffer, we have like log buffer is there, one more area. After writing into log buffer, it will write into log file. Okay, sorry. Except select remaining all commands works. Yeah, correct, Manoj. Except data retrieval, except select star from, everything is written into log file. Okay, suppose tomorrow one user has deleted the records, but he is saying, no, 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 I have not deleted. Okay, we can check in the log file or not. So yeah, we can check in the log file, right? Yes, but because everything is recorded into log file. Every change made to the database is recorded in the log file. We can check in the log file. Okay, right. One question is that the data will helpful for whenever server is, yeah, correct, Manoj, right. Okay, this is like how the transaction flow is happening in SQL Server, high level overview. Okay, right. Right. Next one, see, like in SQL Server, we have two programming options are there. One is say like T-SQL, means our developers write what programs. We are not writing, right? So developers will write the programs actually. One is T-SQL is it to write the programs, which is called SQL Server's native programming language. T-SQL. As well as remember, like developers can write the programs with the help of .NET languages also. Okay, so means like C#, .NET, VB.NET. So these are the .NET languages are there. Developers can write the programs with these languages. Right. So check here the program which is written with T-SQL. It can be directly executed by SQL engine. Why? Because SQL engine can understand T-SQL programs. Whereas the programs written with .NET languages, okay, like VB.NET, C#.NET, these are executed with the help of what? CLR. CLR, okay, common language runtime. Okay, so that's what remember SQL engine cannot understand what .NET programs. That's why it supports one component called CLR. As a DBA, after installing SQL Server, remember, if it is required, we have to enable this CLR. Means what? Like after installing SQL Server, we can enable say this CLR. So But remember, for security reason, most of the times, if the programs are not there with .NET languages, no need to enable this CLR. Okay, so that's like check here any feature. It may be CLR enabled or any feature. We can enable or disable here by using one stored procedure called sp configure. See here. In SQL Server, we have one stored procedure called sp configure. By using this stored procedure, we can enable or disable the CLR features. Okay, check it. CLR enabled. Currently, see like actually minimum value 0, maximum value 1. Means what? We can apply either 0 or 1. Always we have to see run value. Run value 0 means what? Feature is in disable mode. Run value 0 means feature is there in disable mode. So we need to enable one time. Okay. So after installing, we have to enable this feature. But remember, like what features should be installed. Okay. So how much RAM we have to allocate to SQL Server. Everything will get from our client. Means, for example, we have seen application owner is there. For example, our application team members will send actually all these details. We have one project question array will be there with us. Okay. Means like we'll ask our application team to fill this form, for example. So, and send. So in that form, they will fill all the required details by taking the information from vendor. Right? Vendors has developed the software, right? So they know that what features we need in the SQL Server in backend. Okay, so our application team will fill this form. They will send us. In this form, we have all this. Means whether we have to enable CLR or not. Okay, so if it is there, then we'll enable. Otherwise, no need to enable. Clear, right? Yes. Means what? Like this form is provided by our application team. Application team will provide this form, but to this application team, all the details are provided. Okay, which version is required, which SQL Server version, okay, which edition, how much memory is required, okay, so how many CPUs are required, what is the data file disk space, log file space, the complete details along with the settings here, CLR, everything. All those complete details are submitted to our application team by the vendor. Vendor means who has developed the software. Okay, vendor will provide the details to application team. Then application team will fill this form, project questionnaire or project form. Okay, then they will submit this form to the our team, DBA team, for example. Okay, so once they submit the form to DBA team, then we'll verify all the parameters they have entered in the form or not. Okay, after that, say, after that, we'll submit the request to the Windows team. Windows team to create one server, right? With this memory, with this number of CPUs. Okay, so with these drives, their sizes. Once Windows team will make the server ready. It may be physical server or logical server. Then remember, after that we'll start the installation process. Okay, once the installation is done, then we'll update the details to our application team or application project manager, for example. This is like how the workflow will happen in real time. Okay, that's why what features we have to enable, which edition we have to install. Generally here we have topmost edition is it enterprise edition. Okay, so with how much memory. Okay, so yeah, all these complete details are there in this project form. So according to the details, by taking those details here as a DBA, so I will request our Windows team to create one server. Server is required, right, to start installation. So generally today we are going with virtualized servers. Okay, virtualization. So once the server is ready, then we'll start what installation process. Okay. Once installation is done, we'll update the details to application team, and the application team will ask us to create one login temporarily with the admin privileges. One login. Why? Because so once we install SQL Server, we'll get right empty server, right? Empty. Just now have created this database. By default, no databases are there, right? That's what this application team will do. They will take the vendor in the call. Okay. So by using that login, they will create all the databases here. Okay, all the databases they will create. Okay, after that we'll start our maintenance activities by setting up backups, log shipping, mirroring, whatever we need. Means what? All these are there in this form actually. Project document form means a project form. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Check here to enable or disable any feature in SQL Server. We have seen we are using this stored procedure SP configure. Check here. I will enable this feature. Right now, this feature is there in disable mode. 0 means what? 0 means disabled. 1 for enabled. Okay. Right. These processes are also important for us while working in real time. Actually, remember, every organization may have different processes, different steps, but these are the common steps we have to understand. Okay, right. Check it. So we can pass this as a parameter, comma 1. See, 1 for enable, 0 for disable. 1 reconfigure. Actually, if I run this command, remember, only this value is changed. Config value is changed. Run value will not change. But if I say reconfigure, both the values will change. Check here. Okay. It is saying very clearly change from 0 to 1. Check once again. See, both the values are changed successfully. Okay, just always we have to see whether run value is changed or not. Run value we have to verify always. So if I want to disable this feature, same, if I put here 0, then the feature is disabled. Here there is no separate option like CLR disabled. Okay, just 0, 1. Now remember, feature is there in disable mode. Its value is 0. Clear, right? Yes. Okay. Right. So by using this command, we can enable or disable the features as well as here graphically also. If want to enable or disable these features, we can enable or disable. Yes, Karthik, thank you. Check here. If I right click on server name, facets one option is there. Means graphically if want to enable or disable the features here, it takes some time. Facets option, no need to worry. Yes, check here. Facet equal to surface area configuration. Second option is here. CLR integration enabled. Right now it is 0, right? Right? False. That's why right now its value is false. We can change it to true. True. Say okay. Now check here. Now again value is changed to 1. Like we said, both the options are there. We have to remember SP configure as well as by right clicking also we can perform. But one important point is that whenever we do these configuration changes, okay, any of these changes are recorded permanently in master database. Just remember all our SQL Server configuration details are there in which database? Master database. Maybe in other RDBMS products, we know that changes are made. This configuration changes are maintained in what? In the files. Okay. Some files, configuration files. But here everything is recorded in the means configuration details are there in which database? Master database. Okay. Right. Okay, I will show you later. See who has changed which configuration value. Okay, who has changed which configuration value? We can check here. See reports, standard reports, configuration changes history. Means what time we have changed which value we can see here. See here, just now have first old value 0, then we have changed to 1 today. Again I have changed from 1 to 0, again disabled today. Again we have enabled through facets options here. Who has done it? Complete details are recorded. And already we know these details are coming from which database? Master database. Okay, right. Okay, that's like two programming options are there in SQL Server. We have to understand. Okay, we have seen already how to enable or disable this feature CLR. Then in general, remember our SQL Server is a collection of 4 servers. By default, if we purchase any version, any edition, especially enterprise and standard edition, automatically we'll get these 4 servers. Okay, while installation we have to select. So one is a database engine or database server is there, which is our main server. Okay, as a DBA we are working with which server? Database server or database engine. Actually, these queries are processed by which server? Database server. Okay. Queries are processed by which server? Database server or database engine. Already we have discussed database engine has 2 main services, right? SQL Server and SQL Server Agent. Okay. Database engine has what? Two main services, SQL Server and SQL Server Agent. Already we know SQL Server will process user queries. Agent is for automation. Okay, then we have integration services, analysis, reporting. Other three servers are there. We know that these are the MSBI features, right? Microsoft Business Intelligence features. But we are not working with this in real time. Okay, sometimes we need to use SSIS, but not required. So we are working with database server or database engine, right? Yes. While connecting to SQL servers here, it is asking very clearly which server you want to connect. See here. By default, here database engine is selected. Okay, AS, RS, IES. See here. Right? Yes. Okay. There is like four servers are there, and generally while installation already have said we have to select the checkboxes are there. Okay, analysis service, database server services, checkboxes are there. We have to select and see how we know whether reporting, analysis, integrate. In general, remember database engine and integration, these two are compulsory. In every server, we have to install these two compulsory. Okay, whether analysis services reporting is also required in the server or not. How we know? Chakri, Mithila, how we know? Navina, while installing, we have to install all the four servers or only DB engine and integration services. How we know which servers we have to install? Sai, Srikant, Sridhar. Correct, correct. AO or initially project manager will confirm actually. So by using what? Project questionnaire. Thank you very much. Karthik, Srikant, Sridhar. Yes, very, very important point. That's why I'm discussing almost all parallelly processes also in real time. Okay. Yeah, in the project questionnaire, it will be there very clearly what we have to install. Okay, right. Full text filter data quality we'll discuss later, Karthik. Okay, no need now. Yes. Okay. That is like yeah, four servers are there as part of our SQL server. Four engines are there actually. Right. So already we know whenever we user runs the command, a command is submitted to which service? SQL Server service in the background, which is our database engine, which after processing the query, we are getting the result back. Okay, that's why tomorrow if I stop this SQL Server service, we have seen, no, we can't run these commands. User means application cannot submit the commands. Okay, then say SQL Server in a machine. Important point is that in general, remember, whenever we are installing SQL Server, we are calling it as one instance. Whenever we install SQL Server, we are calling it as one instance. Okay. Right. Just remember, instance is nothing but what? One copy of SQL Server. Instance is nothing but one copy of SQL Server. One copy. Okay. So why? Because banking application is there, we need multiple instances. One instance for loans department, one instance for net banking, okay, one instance for ATM transactions, like this here. Okay, so that's why we have to understand here, like instance is nothing but one copy of SQL Server. Check here, this is one server is there with the name server1, server or laptop, anything. Here see I have installed SQL Server 2 times. This is one time, this is one time. In general, whenever we install SQL Server one time, we are calling it as one instance. Okay, we are calling it as one instance. Okay, instance already we have seen. Here see, if the instance name is equal to system name, then we'll call it as default instance. Okay, if you see like system name slash some name, then we are calling it as a named instance. Here two types of instances, default and named instance. By default, remember, whenever you are installing first time, we'll go with default instance. If want one more instance in the same machine, okay, then we are installing one more instance with some name. Okay, why? Because only one default instance is allowed per machine. 49 named instances are allowed per machine, total 50. Okay, whenever you see system name slash some name, then it is a named instance. Okay, two types of instances, default and named instances. Clear, right? Okay, under instance here we have databases, one or more databases. Under that schemas are there here, right? Just to group the tables, we'll see. Under that objects are nothing but tables, views, everything. This is the hierarchy we have to understand. Means in one machine we can have one or more instances. Under each instance we have DBs, databases. Under that is schemas. Under that objects. Check here. Yesterday we have installed this instance. If you see very clearly, system name slash some name is there, right? That's why it is a named instance. Okay, named instance. Under that we have databases. If I go to any one database, so how the tables are there here? DBO dot means what? DBO is a schema name, dot backup set is a table name. Okay, default schema in SQL Server is DBO. Okay, we'll see that later. Okay, that is like we have to understand that, like yeah, respective what is the hierarchy is there in SQL Server. In real time, we are going with default instances. Okay, the servers we have what? Which type of instances? Default instances. Okay, if want extra instance, then we are going with one more instance, which is a named instance. But by default, we have default instances in our production servers. Okay, right. We'll continue from here. We'll conclude the session today. We'll continue again. Okay, then I will show you custom installation, how we are doing installation in real time. Okay, what details we'll get in project questionnaire, some more information. Okay, then after getting the project questionnaire, then we have to raise the request or Windows team, right? we need this machine with this configuration, everything. We'll see that one. Then we'll start what? Custom installation. I will show you how we are doing installation in real time. Okay. Right.